After my husband's funeral, my son pulled onto a dirt road, killed the engine, and said, "This is where you get off." The flowers were still wet on the grave. My heels sank into dust. It was 3:17 p.m. when we left the cemetery in Pine Hollow. Black suits, white lilies, a sky that couldn't decide between sun and rain. My son, Daniel, drove his father's truck like it had wronged him, hands tight at 10 and 2, jaw locked. He is 29, a good kid on paper, a difficult man in real life. He'd been quiet all morning except for the phone he kept flipping face down. Once I caught the name Shay, 2 missed on the screen. I didn't know a Shay. We turned off County 7 onto a strip of gravel that ran between cedar and scrub. No mailboxes, no houses, just wind and the sound of pebbles hitting metal. Half a mile in, Daniel braked hard. The truck shuddered. He looked straight ahead when he spoke. "This is where you get off, Mom." The words felt rehearsed, like someone else had handed them to him. I stared at his profile. "Because?" He swallowed. "It's better for everyone if you don't come home." Home was a one-story with a sagging porch and 30 years of coffee cups. Home was also legally mine, at least I thought so. My husband, Mark, had died 8 days earlier with a gentle hand on my shoulder and a weak apology for leaving too soon. We had talked about wills. We had not rushed the signatures. I opened the door. Dust pushed in with the air. "Who told you to say that, Daniel?" He finally turned to me. His eyes were red, but not from crying. "It's complicated." Complicated is a word people use when they don't want to say money. I stepped down, heels sliding on gravel. My dress wasn't built for dirt roads, but grief doesn't check the terrain. Daniel put the truck in park, got out, and came around to the bed. He lifted a cardboard box like it weighed more than cardboard. "Dad wanted you to have this," he said. No softness, just a line he'd been given. He set it at my feet. I glanced in. Folded flags from Mark's service in the Guard, a framed photo of our wedding, Mark's worn wallet. Beneath that, a thin manila envelope labeled "Insurance" in Daniel's messy print. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. I picked up the envelope. Light. Too light. I didn't open it, not yet. I looked back at my son. "Move the truck, Daniel. Take me home." He shook his head once, quick. "There's a plan. Aunt Carol says you should stay at her place a while. Papers are being handled. It's easier if you don't make a scene. Aunt Carol hadn't cooked for us in 5 years. She lived 2 counties over and liked sentences that started with legally speaking. I felt the first clean edge of anger. "What papers?" He didn't answer. He looked past me, toward the tree line. The wind came up and pushed a strand of hair across his forehead like he was still 12 and I should fix it. I didn't move. "Get in," he said. "I'll take you to Carol's." "I'm not going to Carol's." He held my eyes 3 seconds, then looked away. "Then you stay here. Someone will come." He climbed back into the cab. The truck started with a protest. He backed up, turned, and rolled away slow enough to be cruel. I stood in the quiet and watched the dust erase him. Then I did what I do when the world tilts. I made a record. I took out my phone and shot a wide photo of the road, the cedar, the mile marker half hidden in weeds, MM12 stamped into metal. I panned to the tire tracks. I opened a note and typed, 3:26 p.m. Left on gravel road off County 7. Daniel. This is where you get off. Box delivered. Envelope, insurance. I crouched and slid the wallet from the box. Inside, a folded receipt, Hollis and Pike Insurance, beneficiary change, 5 days ago. Someone had underlined a number. A second receipt peeked out, smaller. Sunset Storage, Unit B12, paid in cash. A shadow moved at the edge of the trees. Just wind, I told myself. The air smelled like rain trying to make up its mind. I straightened, tucked the receipts into my sleeve, and looked back down the empty road. If they wanted me alone, they'd have to settle for prepared instead. Wind pushed through the cedars and made the road sound like water. I slid the insurance envelope open with my thumbnail. 3 pages, all filler, our condolences, a brochure for grief counseling, and a single form stamped pending. No policy number, no beneficiary line, a decoy. I photographed each page and the empty envelope. Then I opened Mark's wallet again and studied the receipt I'd palmed. Hollis and Pike Insurance, beneficiary change, 5 days ago. Agent, S. Lennox. The name Shay on Daniel's phone tightened in my chest like a knot. Gravel crunched far off, an engine. I stepped off the road into the cedar shade and crouched. A beige sedan rolled up slow, dust soft around its tires. The driver didn't get out. He leaned, looked at the box at the edge of the road, and frowned like a waiter whose order had gone missing. He checked the mile marker, 12, then his phone, then drove on, turning left where Daniel had turned right. Not here for me, then. Here for the box. I returned to the road and took another photo of the tracks. Daniel's in, sedan's out, then started walking toward County 7, heels sinking, each step a promise I didn't say out loud. A half-mile later, a mail truck came around the bend, the kind with a driver who knows every dog by name. I lifted a hand. He stopped. "You all right?" he asked, leaning over envelopes. "Lost," I said, which was true in the smallest way. "Can you take me to Pine Hollow?" He nodded, cleared a space, and drove slow like we were hauling eggs. I texted Daniel, "I'm safe, picked up, we'll talk later." It showed delivered, then nothing. Town felt too bright after the trees. I thanked the driver and crossed to Hollis and Pike on Main, the kind of office with a ficus that never dies and a clock that clicks loud. A woman at the desk wore a nameplate. Tina. "I need to check a policy," I said, voice even. "Mark Winters." She tapped keys, the way gatekeepers do. "I can't disclose details without the policy number or authorized access." I slid the wallet receipt across the counter. "Then I need to speak with the agent on this change." Tina read it, blinked once, and lowered her voice. "Ms. Winters, the change was processed by Shay Lennox. She's in today, but she's with a client." "Tell her the widow is here," I said, "and bring a copy of whatever she had him sign." Tina stood, hesitated, then disappeared through the frosted glass. I used the minute to call a number I don't like to bother, County Recorder's office. "It's Elaine Winters," I said when the clerk answered. "Is there a new deed or lien filing on my home?" "Anything in the last 10 days? I'll hold paper answers, even when voices won't." Shay came out in neat black with a file under her arm and eyes that had seen this kind of mess before. Late 20s, smooth voice. "Mrs. Winters, let's step into my office." Her office smelled like new carpet and citrus. She shut the door gently. "I'm sorry for your loss," she began, automatic. "I reviewed the account when I saw your name." "Show me what he signed," I said. She opened the file. The top form read, "Change of beneficiary," typed, clean, with a bright blue signature that tried to be my husband's. The witness line read, "S. Lennox." The second witness, Daniel Winters. "It was brought in by your son," she said, careful. "He said Mr. Winters was at home and not well enough to come in. We strongly prefer in person. He had a notary seal." She tapped the lower corner. Aunt Carol's name in the stamp, my sister-in-law with a weekend notary license and a talent for skirting lines. I flagged it because Mr. Winters had never used authorized representatives before. "But the paperwork, it met requirements to whom?" I asked, though my stomach already knew. She turned the page. "Beneficiary, the Daniel Winters Trust. Trustee, Carol Pike." Carol kept her maiden name for business. I took a breath so slow it felt like standing still in a storm. My phone buzzed. "County Recorder. No new deed. But we have a filed intent to vacate notice on your parcel from Daniel Winters, submitted yesterday. Intent to vacate. A way to hurry an eviction without saying the word." I stood. "Thank you for your time," I said to Shay. "If anyone asks, please note I requested copies." She nodded, already printing. Back on Main, I set a new plan. The second receipt in Mark's wallet, Sunset Storage, Unit B12, paid in cash. Sunset sits at the edge of town, all chain link and keypad codes, the kind of place where people hide Christmas and mistakes. The keypad took my birthday. Gates slid open like a sigh that knew me. The B row sat in the back, facing a drainage ditch. B12 was halfway down, dented door, fresh dust at the lip. I photographed the lock and the concrete, the footprint I didn't recognize. A narrow tread turned sideways as if someone had stood there listening. I pressed my ear to the cool metal. Nothing. I slid the key into the lock. It turned with a notch that felt like crossing a line. The roll-up door rattled an inch, then two. The dark inside breathed cold. I lifted until light cut a rectangle into the gloom. Boxes stacked to shoulder height. A battered metal cabinet against the back wall. On top of the boxes, a single manila folder with my name. ELAINE. Somewhere behind me, gravel crunched, soft, decision slow. I kept the door at waist height, reached, and palmed the folder. Paper first. Then I turned, the metal door was still half down, and saw a shadow slip past the end of the row, too fast to place, too quiet for accident. I set the folder against my chest like a shield and lifted the door the rest of the way. If they wanted me off the road, they'd choose the wrong place to leave the map. I slid the ELAINE folder open, keeping one ear on the gravel behind me. Inside, a letter in Mark's blocky handwriting, a flat silver key taped to the corner, a cheap USB drive, and photocopies. Many, neat, deliberate. I took photos of the spread before I touched anything. Then I read the letter. Elaine, if you're here, I didn't outrun this. I'm sorry. They're leaning on me about planning. Daniel brought Carol. They said it's to make things simple. Nothing about this is simple. Policy was in your name. They pushed for a change. I signed one thing. I did not sign what they filed. The blue signature isn't mine. If you can, take the key. Box 314 at First Mesa Credit Union. Ask for Miss Harmon. She knows me. The drive has audio from my truck. You'll hear it. Don't confront it home. Make a record. I put the letter in my bag like it could stop a knife. The photocopies were careful proof. Older policy summary with beneficiary, Elaine Winters, dated 2 months ago. A notary log page with a blank slot under the date Carol stamped, no entry where there should be one. A bank withdrawal slip in Daniel's hand for $4,000 cash 2 days before beneficiary change. Memo line, fees. A printout of texts. Carol, Daniel. Have her out by Sunday. I'll handle the intent. Daniel. Got it. The silver key was tiny and stamped 314. The USB was labeled in Mark's pencil, truck. I slid the USB into my phone with a cheap adapter I keep for photos. A single file blinked up, cab_audio_5d.wave. I pressed play and cupped the speaker. Truck noise, turn signal, Mark's breath, thin, stubborn. Daniel's voice. Just sign, Dad. It keeps taxes simple, Mark. It keeps your aunt happy. Carol. Legally speaking, it protects the asset while your wife is grieving. You don't want her buried in paperwork. Mark. My wife knows where the papers go. A door chime. The sound of a stamp. Carol again, lower. Blue pen, Daniel. It scans cleaner. My thumb shook. I backed the file up twice and emailed it to myself. Subject line, truck_audio. Then I took the key off the tape and palmed it. Footsteps scraped soft at the end of the row. There, then gone. I moved the roll-up door down to shoulder height and slipped into the metal cabinet at the back. It wasn't locked. Inside, more boxes, an old check register, and a dash cam the size of a matchbox with an SD card still in it. I swallowed a curse I don't use and slid the card into my pocket with the key. Paper, audio, video, 3 legs on a table that doesn't tip. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. I wrote in my notes, 4:11 p.m., Unit B12, folder Elaine recovered, finds, Mark letter, bank box key 314, USB truck, dashcam SD, copies, policy, notary log, texts. Audio confirms pressure. Outside, gravel whispered again. I crouched and peered under the half-lowered door. Boots crossed the sunstrip, narrow tread, the same sideways stance I saw in the dust. A shadow paused, then a phone lit a cheek. A low voice. "She's here." B-row. "Yeah, the box'll be empty by the time she figures it out." I didn't wait to figure it out. I slid the folder into my tote, killed the audio on my phone, and eased the door up in one clean pull. The shadow snapped back, surprised. A young man, delivery age, hail ball cap. He flinched like I was the one with the box cutter. "Ma'am, wrong unit," he stammered, hand up. "Then keep walking," I said, even, not loud. I lifted my phone so he could see his own face on the screen. "You're recorded." He went, fast. I didn't close the unit. I left it exactly as I found it, minus the things that mattered, took 3 final photos and walked to the car with my tote tucked under my arm, and the kind of posture that says, this isn't the first heavy thing I've carried. At the gate, my phone buzzed. Unknown. Daniel. "Where are you, Mom?" "Town," I said. "You can't go to the house," he said, voice tight, the way a rope sounds. "They're cleaning. Carol says it's not safe." "Who's they?" Silence. Then, "Just stay with Aunt Carol." "Please, bring me my house key," I said. "We'll talk on the porch." He exhaled into the phone, a long, hot sound. "You don't have a porch anymore," he said, almost soft. "Locks are changed." I hung up before the hurt had time to harden. Then I turned the car toward First Mesa Credit Union. The sun dropped a shade lower. Pine Hollow's shadows got longer and less patient. At the branch, Ms. Harmon looked at the key, then at me, then at the name on the account. She lifted the phone, called a number, listened, and nodded. "I'll need 2 signatures," she said. "Yours and the officer on duty. Standard when a box holder passes, call who you trust," I said. While she stepped away, I watched the parking lot through the glass. A beige sedan slid past the curb. The same one from the gravel road. It didn't park. It circled. The second pass was slower. Ms. Harmon returned with a uniform. Deputy Reed, a face I knew from town parades and noise complaints. "Ma'am," he said, kind, but eyes sharp. "We'll witness." We went to the vault. Cold air, quiet carpet, a long wall of boxes like little doors to better or worse. 314 opened with a click that felt like a verdict. Inside, another manila folder and a flat black pouch. I opened the folder first. On top, a handwritten timeline in Mark's block print. Week -3, Carol starts planning calls. Week -2, Daniel, fees, withdrawal. Day -5, blue pen, not my hand. Day -1, told Elaine no need to sign, too tired, felt wrong. Under it, a photocopy of the original policy with my name circled, and a small receipt for a safe install at our house dated last month, a wall safe I didn't know about. The black pouch held a second SD card and a house key with a new tag, back door, left hinge. Deputy Reed read the top page, then looked at me like a man choosing a sentence. "You have somewhere safe to stay tonight, Mrs. Winters?" "I have a porch to check," I said. He didn't argue. "I'll follow you as far as County 7, he said. "Then call me if you see that beige sedan again." I tucked the pouch and folder into my tote and nodded. The vault door swung shut with a soft thump that sounded like a heartbeat. If the day began with "get off," it was ending with "get in." Into the house Mark had tried to protect the only way he knew, with keys, with paper, with truth. And if someone waited on my road again, I had something heavier than heels this time. Deputy Reed tailed me until County 7, lights off, steady in my mirror like a promise. At the crossroads he tapped his siren once, "Call if you need me," then turned toward town. The sky sat heavy, the kind that makes your radio sound farther away. Half a mile from the house, the beige sedan slipped into view in the side mirror. Same slow float, same careful distance. I didn't brake. I didn't speed. I rolled my shoulders once and spoke out loud to no one. Make a record. At my street, the sedan kept going, not brave enough for driveways. I parked 2 houses down behind Mrs. Klein's hedges. Notes first. 5:22 p.m., beige sedan circling. 5:26, parked near Klein's, approach on foot. Key, back door, left hinge. The porch looked smaller without mark on it. A notice flapped under the new deadbolt. Intent to vacate. 72 hours. Daniel's name black and straight at the bottom. I photographed it. Then the lock. Then the fresh scratches on the knob that said a man with a drill had been paid by the hour. Around back, the kitchen door wore a second new deadbolt. I crouched. Left hinge wasn't a hint. It was a method. The hinge pins were au naturel. The installer hadn't bothered with security screws on a door that opened out. I slid a flathead from my tote, worked the pins up slow, and held the slab by its weight. It lifted like a sigh. I slid it aside, stepped in, and set it back without the pins. A door is only a wall if you honor it. Inside smelled like lemon cleaner and someone else's decisions. 2 contractor bags by the couch. I didn't pack a box labeled Lenin's. The wall where our family photo had hung was lighter by a rectangle, like a ghost had been careful. I moved through rooms the way you move through a church at night. Touch nothing, listen to everything. The receipt in the bank folder said safe install, last month. Mark would have put it where a younger man wouldn't look. I checked the hall closet, no, the pantry, shelf scuff low right. I tugged. The whole unit rolled an inch. Behind it, a drywall patch with a keypad the size of a deck of cards. I pressed Mark's badge number from the guard. Red blink. Then I tried our anniversary backwards. Green. The panel swung. A steel face stared back. The black pouch key slid in and turned like it had been waiting to breathe. Inside the safe, a thin hard drive, a letter, a small spiral notepad, and a sealed envelope stamped "Will, executed." I photographed everything before I touched anything. Then I opened the spiral. Mark's neat lines, dated, call with Carol, simplify for Elaine. Daniel late, fees, meeting Duduche, verify ID requirements, record in truck, copy to dash. Elaine, if you get this, call Reed, don't open door to cleaners. I slid the will envelope into my tote without opening it. Some papers deserve witnesses. The hard drive got a photo and a pocket. Then I opened the letter. Elaine, I put the safe where you'd find it if you looked for coffee. If they changed locks, use the left hinge. If Daniel brings you to a road, don't let it be the last road. The dash cam saw more than I meant it to. I love you. I took a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. In the kitchen, a car door thumped. Another. Voices, muffled, quick. I slid my phone to video and moved to the window. A white van, Pine Hollow Cleaning and Haul. 2 men in gray shirts hopped out and headed for the porch with a bin and a drill. A second car pulled in behind them. The beige sedan. The driver stepped out, mid-30s, tidy, phone already against his ear. He looked right at my door, the one I'd lifted off its hinges, then up at the windows like he was counting. He spoke into the phone. The van men waited for a nod. I texted, Reed, at my house now, beige sedan plus haul van. Notice to vacate posted. I'm inside, back door. The dots popped fast. On my way. 4 minutes, stay put. I went back into the hall and slid the pantry shelf all the way back to hide the keypad glow, door pins still out. I set the Elaine folder under the kitchen table leg, the kind of place men who haul never checks. The hard drive and dash SD card went in my boot, the letter in my coat. Footsteps hit the back deck. A key scraped at the new deadbolt that no longer did its job. The door gave an inch, then stopped on the unseated pins. One man cursed. Pinned, he said. Dumb installer. The phone rang in the front hall, the house line I forgot we had. It echoed through rooms like a voice from a well. It rang 3 times, then 4, then stopped. My cell buzzed. Unknown. I let it go. It rang again. I answered on mute and held it to the air. Aunt Carol's voice carried it clean from the porch, too close to the cracked back door. Elaine, dear, if you're in there, don't make this harder. Legally speaking, you're a guest now. Be reasonable and we'll sort it. I am unmuted. Carol, I said, low, even. Legally speaking, you forged a notary log. Get off my porch silence, then that syrup smile I know too well. We can call the sheriff, she said. Please do, I said. Deputy Reed likes to drive fast. From the front, Daniel's voice, young, frayed. Mom, just go with Carol. I'll fix it later. The way you fix the left hinge? I spoke. The way you fix the fees? Something hit the porch rail. The hall men took a step back. On the street, a siren blew one clean note. Close. I moved to the hall and took one last photo. The notice, the van, the sedan, the men. Timestamp, location. Then I said into the phone, Daniel, you come in here and you listen to a will. Deputy Reed's patrol car slid into the drive like punctuation. Doors opened. Voices changed key. For a beat, the house held 3 kinds of air: lemon cleaner, summer dust, and the charge before a storm. I tucked the letter inside my coat and stepped toward the front hall, heels loud on old wood, the way a person walks when they are done whispering. Deputy Reed's door thumped shut. The white van men froze mid-step. The beige sedan driver tried to look like a shadow. Aunt Carol smoothed her blazer and lifted her chin. Daniel stood behind them all, eyes on the floor like he wanted the wood to swallow him. Afternoon, Reed said, calm as a kitchen clock. We're going to slow this down. He took in the intent to vacate notice, the drill bag, the door pins sitting on the sill, the van logo, the sedan. His gaze landed on Daniel. You the son? Daniel nodded. Yes, sir. Good. Then you're staying right there. I stepped from the hall into the front room. Deputy, I said, holding the sealed will, executed envelope flat on my palm. My husband left this in a wall safe I accessed with his key. I also have a dash cam card and a recording of his truck, and there's a beneficiary change pushed through with a forged notary. Carol moved to interrupt. Reed raised a finger without looking at her. She stopped. He radioed, short and clean. Dispatch, start a supervisor and a detective to Pine Hollow, possible forgery and attempted unlawful eviction. Also request EMS standby. Then he looked at me. Ma'am, do not open that will until a supervisor witnesses, but you can read a letter. I handed him Mark's letter, the one from the storage unit. He read fast, mouth set. You have copies? He asked. 3, I said, and the originals are photographed. Carol finally found words. Legally speaking, this is a family matter and— Carol, Reed said, still calm, legally speaking, you need to step off this porch. She blinked, actually shocked. The van men shuffled backward. The beige sedan driver put both hands where everyone could see them. Daniel stared at the notice on the door. I didn't want it like this, he said, low. Aunt Carol said it was simple, I finished. Simple like blue ink. He flinched. Reed looked at him. Son, you're going to do 2 things. You're going to hand me every key you have. Then you're going to call your aunt's notary line and ask her to bring her logbook to this address right now. On speaker, Daniel pulled a ring from his pocket with hands that shook. He passed me the old house key, then another new one I'd never seen. He put his phone on speaker and dialed. Carol's ringtone chirped in her own pocket. She didn't move. Answer it, Reed said. She did. Yes? Bring the log, Reed said for her. Bring it clean. Her eyes went flat. It's at home. We'll follow, Reed said. After we read a will. A supervisor arrived, Sergeant Lyle, broad and patient. He logged the will seal number and laid it on the table. Mrs. Winters, he said. Ready? I nodded. He opened the envelope with a small blade and read. Short, clear. Witnessed by 2 neighbors I knew from church. Dated last month, same week as the safe installation. All assets, including the home and policy, to Elaine Winters. No representatives, no trust. Mrs. Winters named executor. Silence took the room and set it down. Reed breathed out once. All right, he said. Van leaves now. Sedan leaves now. Anyone who touches a wire or a bag gets bracelets. The hall men didn't argue. The beige sedan rolled away slowly, then faster. Carol tried one last move. We'll contest, she said, soft poison. Legally speaking, Reed said. You're going to bring that log and explain why a notary stamp appears without a corresponding entry, and why a change was filed with a signature the decedent says isn't his. Or you can wait for a warrant. She swallowed. I'll get it. Daniel watched her go. He looked 14 in a black suit. Mom, he said, I'm sorry. I let the sorry sit between us like a wet coat, not forgiving, not throwing it away. You're going to fix what you can fix, I said. You're going to talk to the detective. You're going to tell the truth, and you're going to take your feet off the throat of your mother's house. His eyes filled. He nodded. Yes, ma'am. Reed turned to me. EMS is here if you need them. You've had a day. I have coffee, I said. My hands finally steadied. We moved to the kitchen. I set the ELAINE folder on the table and slid the TRUCK audio to Lyle. He plugged it into a small recorder and listened with a face that sounded more than sound. We'll preserve this, he said, and the dash cam. I pulled the little SD card from my boot and set it next to the hard drive. Mark said it saw more than he meant it to. Lyle bagged both. Forensics can work with more. Reed took a photo of the intent to vacate and peeled it off my door. This has no force with a fresh will and no court order, he said. We'll also be visiting Miss Lennox at the insurance office. She flagged it, I said. She'll help. Good, he said. We like people who try. We waited on the porch while the light shifted from gold to something softer. A neighbor across the way pretended to water her begonias and then walked over with a casserole, like the town was finally remembering how to be a town. Daniel came back with a plastic bin from the van. He opened it, pulled out the linens box, and set it inside my door. This is yours, he said. He meant more than cloth. By dusk, Carol returned, tight-lipped, with a leather-bound notary book clutched too hard. Lyle photographed every page. There was no entry on the day her stamp appeared on the change form. He looked up. That's a felony. Her voice became small. It was for family. Crime travels worse when it's a family trip, Reed said. They walked her to the cruise without cuffs. Daniel watched her go like he was seeing a weather pattern he'd believed in all his life finally break apart. When the cars left and the porch got quiet, I did what I always do when a story tries to rewrite itself. I opened my notebook and added the last lines. 6:02 p.m. Will opened, assets to Elaine. 6:18, van and sedan cleared. 6:33, notary log missing entry, seized. 6:41, Daniel surrendered keys, statement pending. 6:55, house secure, evidence in custody. I set the pencil down and looked at the door with the pins still resting on the sill. Tomorrow I'd seat them. Tonight I liked remembering. Some doors only open because you let them. Daniel stood on the walkway, hands in pockets. Can I come by tomorrow? He asked. You can come by and tell the truth, I said. Bring coffee. He nodded and walked to the curb, smaller than he'd been at noon, bigger than he'd been at 3:15. Inside, I put Mark's letter in the safe, next to the will copy and the timeline he wrote. I added my own list under his, the way two hands build a thing steadier than one. I boiled water, poured it over ground, and let the house smell like coffee and paper instead of lemon and fear. The porch light clicked on by itself, the way Mark wired it years ago, to come up when the dark got pushy. If any part of this sounds like your road, if someone tells you, this is where you get off, remember what carried me home. Make a record. Take photos. Keep receipts. Save audio. Ask for logs. Find the hinge that moves when the lock won't. You don't have to shout to be heard. You just have to give the truth somewhere solid to stand. And if a door tries to tell you you're a guest in your own life, lift the pins. Step through, then put them back in, on your terms.